Hello, my name is Eric, and this morning on Facebook somebody posted a question about how do you feed the 7 different colors of science packs into your laboratories. And one way that I like to do that is using a sushi belt. And today we will build a sushi belt that puts all 7 colors of science onto a single belt to feed into our labs. And I'll just go ahead and demonstrate this as I build it. I've not pre-built anything. So the first thing we're going to need is the main belt that's going to be our sushi belt, and we'll just start it off right here. I'm going to do this in red just because it's for demonstration purposes. You could do it with blue belts or even yellow, but I think red is probably good for demonstration because it will move a little bit quicker and quicker than yellow, but not so fast as blue, just easier to watch during the demonstration. We're now going to need a supply for all 7 colors with inserters, a way to get them onto the belt. The first thing we need is we'll go ahead and put 3, space them out so we can see what we're doing. And now these inserters will place their items on the far side of the belt, so we need to have a way to get items onto this side of the belt. And the way I do this is I put a belt here, 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 and here. And we'll then put inserters here like so. And these inserters will place items onto this belt, for example, and then it will go onto this side of our main belt. So we're going to put 3 colors of science on the inside and 4 colors on the outside. And we're probably just going to go from beginning to top, so we will go red, green, military, science, purple, yellow, and white. I don't call anything by their official names, but hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about when I say the different colors. And we're going to hook all these things up with red wire. And on this one, since this will be red science, we're going to tell it to enable when red signal equals 1. And we're going to tell it to read hand contents pulse. And it's important that you put it on pulse, not hold, because pulse just counts how many items the inserter moves. And every time it moves something, it says, okay, I'm moving this many of this item, and sends that into the system. And the red signal will come from an RS latch that we'll set up here in a few minutes. And now I will copy that inserter and give it, so now they're all programmed the same, but I'll change this one to green for green science, this one to gray for military science, this one to blue, that's what I just did, this one for, we use pink because there is no purple signal for some reason, and yellow, and white. So red, blue, gray, I'm sorry, red, green, gray, blue, purple, yellow, white. And let's go ahead and give this some power so we can see what we're doing without all the flashing things. Where's my electric thing? Okay. And in case you, I mean, I'm in creative mode, obviously. This is a cheat thing that just creates infinite electricity. If you don't know how to set up creative mode, then that's a topic for another day. So now, once we load the science packs onto the belt, we need to remove them from the belt. We're going to need a little bit of room here, so we'll put that like so. And let's put, we're going to need more power than this. Let's put, we'll just put a couple for now. So now these inserters will be removing science packs from the belt and placing them into the labs. And we also need to wire them into the circuit network. But before we, actually I want to do, sorry, different color. Well, no, we can do red, that's fine. Now these, you don't need a enable option, but you do need read pulse, and again, none read pulse. So that will send a signal every time they move a science pack. They'll say, I'm moving this many of this particular science pack at this time, and send that to the circuit network. And how this ends up working together is, we're going to tie these into here and here. So every time one of these inserters adds a science pack to the belt, it's sending a signal of +1 for that particular color science. And these guys will do the same thing. They'll send a +1 signal to the circuit. But that's not actually what we want. We don't want it to send +1, we want it to send -1. So right here, we're going to take a math commutator, or whatever these things are called, arithmetic combinator, a math thing, as I like to call them. We're going to put this math thing right here. We're going to feed this signal into the back end of the math thing, and we're going to tell it to multiply each by -1. And output that again as each. So for every signal of a science pack being moved by one of these inserters that this combinator receives, it's going to say, okay, for example, this one just moved a red science pack, so it sends a value of 1 red science pack to the combinator, and that will change it into -1 science pack and output that here. And we could do that if it's easier to understand. It could be set up like this, and you could actually have 1 for every color, but that's just a waste of space. But essentially what it's doing is it's saying red science times -1, and this is just coming from these inserters, output as a negative value for red science pack. But we'll change that to each, just so we only need 1 to do it. And then we have to connect this, the output side of this combinator, into the main bus, if you will, or the main signal network. Now it's important to note, let me turn alt mode off, we do not have the red wire going across the combinator, which you see sometimes. So there's an isolation, there's a separation between this set of red wire and this set of red wire. That's important to understand. So now we have to set up RS latches to control how much of each science pack is being sent to the system. But before we do that, we have to set up something that counts each of the 7 different colors of science pack. And we're going to put this right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the red signal, so this takes all the pluses and minuses from all of these inserters, and it's coming over here through the red wire. And then the red wire is going to put in its output into all of these arithmetic combinators, math things. I'm never going to get the name of those things right. And then we want green wire going across each separately. And what this does is this will create a memory loop. So right here we tell it input, where is it at? Red science +0, output red science. So this is called a memory circuit. And so every time a red signal comes in, it adds 0 to that signal and outputs that signal. And because we have the green loop here, that goes forever. So if we didn't have this going on down here, if we only had this guy who's putting red science onto the belt, every time he adds like 1 red science to the belt, he sends a 1 signal, a +1 red science signal through the wires, it goes into here, and it takes its previous value, its previous count, and then adds whatever's coming into it and puts that on the output. So it will just add, and it will just go up and up and up forever. But because we have these creating a negative value, every time these inserters remove a red science from the belt, it sends a negative red value, and that causes this memory circuit to decrease by 1. And now what I'll do is I will just copy and paste these as such. I think you understand why I did that, just a little bit quicker. Purple and yellow. And we can't forget about white. So now these memory circuits are going to give us a running count of how many science packs are on the belt. Every time these inserters add science packs, the corresponding value will go up, and every time this one removes a science pack, the corresponding value will go down. And that will give us a count of how many of each color science are on each belt. And now we have to control how much science of each color we put on the belt. And if we don't do that, then this one will just go red, 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 and just keep adding red, and the entire outer lane of the belt will be full of red, and then you won't have any, green, gray, or blue, and then your science labs will stop working because they don't have all the colors they need. So you need to divide the space. And let's go ahead and give ourselves a little bit more space right here. And the first thing we need to know is we need to know how many belts do we have on our bus here. And a really quick way to do that is tell it to create a blueprint. And whoops, well, we don't want the ones on the sides. We only want the main belt. And you can see right there it's 64. Okay, and then we don't need that. So now 64, let me turn on my phone with the calculator app. 64 times 4 is, I should be able to do that in my head, 252? 256. So each square of a belt on each side can hold 4, about. When you get into the corners, it's different, but you can have 4 items right here, 1, 2, 3, 4 on that belt, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can have 4 items on this belt. So our total capacity is 256 on either side of the belt. So 256 divided by 4 would be the 64 that we just had a moment ago, because we're going to put 4 colors of science on the belt. So theoretically, the maximum number of any color that we want, of any color science that we want on this side of the belt, would be 64, because if we had 64 red and 64 blue and 64 gray and 64 green, that would total 256. Now, we don't want to add 64. We want to allow it to overshoot a little bit on each one. So for 64, I'm just going to pick an arbitrary number, and I'm going to say 50. 50 is going to be our target. We'll do 55. 55 will be our target maximum number of each color. So then what we set up, I'm going to need some more of these up here. So then I need to set up an RS latch. And how we do that is I want to have these far enough over here. This is going to take up a lot of space, but it's okay. So now I take the output from the red signal, or the red science, and I feed it into these 2 combinators. Then I need red looping on itself. This is also a little memory circuit. And we need that one going back to the main red bus. And then we need green wire, mainly because it's really important that this color and this color be different. If you don't understand RS latches, I did an entire video on explaining RS latches, so we're not going to get into that today. And these two are going to be looking at the value of red. Now, we said that we didn't want red to be greater than 55. So I'm going to program that right there. And I'm going to say R for red. So if red, the total number of red on the belt is greater than 55 output, a value of R equals 1. And if red is less than, going to pick another number here, let's say 45. Output the red signal of 1. And now we're going to say if red signal is greater than R, output red 1, red color 1. So right now it's 0, so the red science signal is 0. And so this one is now saying, okay, so it's not greater than 55, so it doesn't put output R1. It is less than 45, output red signal. This is saying red signal is greater than R. Again, I'm not going to explain RS latches in detail because I have a whole video on that. But basically, this is saying if red, what this does is if red science is greater than 55, then red signal equals 0. If it's lower than 45, red signal equals 1. And this just allows it so whenever there's less than 45 red science packs on the belt, it will start adding until there's greater than 55. Then it will stop and it will let it drop back down to 45 and it will start adding again. You could just say if it's less than 45, add, but then that creates chatter and that just makes it run inefficiently and it just makes everything go crazy. So as you can see, this is now outputting a red of 1, and down here you can see that this inserter has a green light because its enabled condition is now being met, because we're putting the red signal of 1 into the red wire, and that's going down into that inserter. And now we need to repeat this process 7 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I hope that will reach. If not, we're going to have to get creative. So now I just need to change all of these to their appropriate color. Using M for military instead of G for green, just because even though those signals don't touch each other, it's still better not to use the same letters near each other. It's just going to confuse you later when you come back looking at this, trying to remember what you did. Hopefully I'm not screwing this up. Whoops, I forgot to do this. Forgot to do that. That would be a mistake. Greater than M output gray. Okay, and then this one should be B and blue. Almost done. LMNOP, there it is. Because again, for some reason, there's no purple signal in the game. So we use pink for purple. Y for yellow. Let's do this first. Okay, now the real question is whether or not the wire will stretch far enough. So green goes to, whoops. Oh, that was already connected from when we copied and pasted. So that goes to, whoa, what happened? What the heck just happened? Okay, my computer just freaked out for a moment. And blue goes to blue, and purple goes to purple, and yellow goes to yellow, and I hope this reaches. It does. And then all of these, because their outputs can go on the same line. So now we have the whole thing set up. Now all of these things will add science, and up to 55, stop at 55, wait till it drops to 45, and start adding again. So let's go ahead and add our science packs. Oops, didn't have any duck unders. And hopefully you know how creative mode works. You understand what I'm doing right there. So let's go ahead and turn on red science. Now you can see, if you look over to the side, you see the red science value increasing as it adds red science packs to the belt. Now look, it got to 56 and it stopped. But now these guys, they took a couple, so now it's down to 50, but because it's not under 45, the red science inserter right here is still turned off, and it will sit there and wait until this number right here, the red science number here, drops to below 45. So let's go ahead and turn on our other science packs, and you see, because we left room, now there's room for the green science packs to be added to the same belt. And we need, this one's military. And this one's blue. You can see all the numbers go up as it keeps adding. And now we're going to put the other side, which is purple, yellow, and white. Purple, yellow, and white. Now, hopefully now you understand why it's called a sushi belt, because the different colors are all mixed together, and it looks like a sushi belt in one of those restaurants where the belt goes by and you just grab what you want. So now we have 56 of each one, 53, 56. It kind of depends on how much added before the signal told it to stop adding or subtracting. And notice the belts are not full, but it had enough for these laboratories to get what they needed. So let's go ahead and turn something on. We'll just research infinite artillery shells. And you can see that these things are working. Let me speed these guys up a little bit. And notice as the number of science packs in the laboratory drops, obviously it will get to a point where it says, okay, up, need some more. So every time it does, and that causes the signals to drop. And so this whole thing is just, whenever it takes from here, it sends a negative signal. That causes these values to drop. When these values drop low enough, these signals turn on the color indicators, and the color indicators tell the inserters to go ahead and add more science packs to the belt. And we can further demonstrate this by, we can add some more labs, and you can daisy chain your labs together like so. So the inserters here, you know, these things just automatically take from each other and go on down the line. And each time it does that, it goes and it waits until it has the appropriate amount of science packs. So these labs are eating different colors of science, which causes these inserters again to send a negative signal, which triggers these circuits and tells these inserters to add more to the belt. So this is one way to have all 7 colors of science being fed into your laboratories. You could also use stack inserters, which would help it not have this time where it's waiting to be filled up, but you would probably need a little bit more capacity to do that. And obviously, the more labs you have, the longer your belt would be, and that would cause this number to increase. How many belts do we have in our bus? And then and then you would want to multiply that by 4. And actually on these, now that I think about it, this was kind of a mistake because we're only doing 3 colors on this belt. So we could have taken the 256 number and divided by 3, which would be, 256 divided by 3, which would be 85. So we could put a little bit more of each color on the 3 on the inside track, but it's not really necessary. But I think you guys understand the point. And I got that in just under 30 minutes. So I will post that, and this will take a little while to upload. But hopefully you guys, this makes sense. You need to understand how memory circuits work and how SR latches work, or RS latches, and I have videos that explain all that. But that's basically how you can use circuit networks to make a sushi belt for science. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.